Welcome to the Center Mind Podcast, and I'm your host, Tony DeVito, where we try and get to the middle ground of almost anything. Donald J. Trump will now be the 47th President of the United States. In an unexpected political comeback and against all odds, Trump not only wins with an electoral landslide, but he also wins the popular vote. As of right now, he is projected to win 312 electoral votes, while Vice President Kamala Harris only has 226. 54 of those 226 are from California, which is a Democratic gimme. I mentioned that caveat to highlight the fact that without California, she would only have 172 electoral votes. Nevertheless, California is always blue, unless you're Ronald Reagan or Arnold Schwarzenegger. Let's talk about that blue wall that was not so blue this time around. Harrison Walz won his state of Minnesota, which wasn't a surprise. However, Trump is projected to win the rest. He has Wisconsin and Michigan. Trump spent a lot of time in these states, and it paid off. He connected better with Latino voters and black voters, and voters younger than 30 years old better than ever before. It was too much for Harris to be able to overcome. He also flipped Pennsylvania and Georgia, likely flipping Arizona and Nevada. It appears Trump is going to win this election stronger than he won the 2016 election against Hillary Clinton. If he wins Nevada, then he will beat Harris with more electoral votes than when he defeated Clinton. Trump won all of the battleground states, but it was close. The margin was small in most of the battleground states. Arizona looks like it will have the highest margin for Trump out of all the battleground states, which will be about 5 percentage points. And Trump lost Arizona in 2020. If you remember, Arizona was called early 4 years ago, and that was the nail in the coffin for the Trump campaign last time. Nevada looks like it will have the second highest margin for Trump out of all the battleground states with 4.5 percentage points. And Trump lost Nevada both in 2016 and 2020, but he won it this time, or at least is projected to win it this time. In Georgia, Trump won by 2.25 percentage points. In 2020, he lost Georgia just by a little over 11,000 votes. That's right, 11,000. This time around, he won Georgia with a little over 118,000 votes. This is where the black vote and the voters under the age of 30 made a difference in this election. They certainly made a difference elsewhere as well, but this was the state that flipped because of it. In Pennsylvania, Trump won by 2.25 percentage points. We were concerned that Pennsylvania would go late into the evening and turn more Democratic at the end, just as it did in the last election. Georgia did the same thing as well in 2020. However, those younger voters and black voters and independents and blue-collar working Democrats in Pennsylvania turned the tide this time. Also, the state did an outstanding job of counting the votes more quickly and efficiently this year than they were able to in 2020. North Carolina was of concern in this election cycle because Biden had narrowed the gap in North Carolina in 2020. Hillary lost North Carolina in 2016 by 3 and more than 0.5 percentage points, which decreased to a very close 1 1/3 percentage point gap between Biden and Trump in 2020. There was a concern that the Democrats had created a pattern to overtake North Carolina and turn it blue. However, Trump widened that gap again by about 4.5 percentage points over Harris. Even with the damage to the western half of the state from Hurricane Helene, they were able to get mobile voting stations out to those areas and had a similar turnout this election compared to 2020. With those success stories taking place, Trump held ground in the usual red states in the South. However, in doing so, he widened his lead from years previous by about 4 to 5 percentage points in some of those states. Those increases in the red states, in combination with some of the blue states like New York, New Jersey, and Virginia, where Trump still lost but was able to narrow the margin, it appears that he has also won the popular vote because of this. This increase in votes for Trump, not only in the red states, but in the blue states as well, has evened the political playing field for the Republicans and proves that the Republican Party has truly reinvented itself. With the Republicans garnering more of the young vote as well as the black and Latino votes, it's clear that the Republican Party has become more progressive and more universal. It appeals to a much more diverse demographic than ever before. Surely the party will continue to work to move forward in this direction, which they have successfully done so by using the common sense approach, appealing to Americans with America First policies, positive economic and global policies that promote wealth and peace for more people than what the Democrats have been able to offer in recent years. But where does that leave the Democratic Party? The Democratic Party has leaned so hard on being woke and playing on Americans' fears for the last 12 to 16 years that I think their party is finally anxiety fatigued, especially since June 16, 2015, when Trump came down that escalator at Trump Tower in New York City and officially announced his campaign for president. Since then, the citizen members of the Democratic Party have been blitzed with anxiety, gaslighting, lies, deception, cancel culture, stifled free speech, Orwellian policies and tactics, the intentional misleading and confusion for gender science, and the attempt to indoctrinate our children into the woke agenda. They have incited violent riots throughout the country while calling to defund the police and to create new laws that decriminalize things like theft. And they have attempted to normalize pedophilia by trying to relabel a pedophile as a minor attracted person. Then they become the warmongers and encourage or fund wars indirectly by lifting sanctions or even directly funding them by sending money to other countries to keep wars going. All of those things happening at the same time while the country was shut down for a pandemic. How could this be? How could the populace just blindly accept all this from the Democrats? Just when you think they could not try anything worse, they forced Joe Biden out of the race and replace him with Kamala Harris, the most unpopular vice president and maybe even politician of all time. They tell you that Trump is a threat to democracy, so the only way they can protect democracy is to bypass the democratic process and not have a primary to elect Harris as the nominee for president, and instead they just shove her down the throats of the Democrats. In the meantime, they are dragging Trump through the mud and through the courts with indictment after indictment, using the justice system to attack their political opponent. And then, while doing so, they tell the American people that they are afraid Trump will use the legal system against his political opponents, while they are doing that very exact thing to him. Oh, the irony, the gaslighting, the lies. Then their rhetoric is so powerful and so hateful that not one, but two assassination attempts were made on Trump's life, and one of them was so close to success that it grazed his ear. Just a slight turn of the head, and he would not be our president. Then what do the Democratic establishment and their puppets and legacy media do next? They call for unity for a day, maybe two, but then it's right back to calling Trump Hitler and his supporters Nazis. That was it. The citizens of the Democrat Party who were paying attention and were not brainwashed to have Trump derangement syndrome had enough. They said enough is enough. We are done with this party. You saw it with RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, and the list goes on. People started to leave the Democrat Party in droves and started to support Trump. Then, with a last-ditch effort, the Democrats try and use star power. But almost everyone they used to support Kamala Harris were celebrities that have connections to the Diddy parties. People start calling them the Diddy list. Then people started to believe, hey, so this is how guys like Diddy and Epstein got away with their sick atrocities for all of those years. As long as they support the establishment, then the establishment will look the other way. Which means what? The people believe the Democrat machine and legacy media, being the establishment, will look the other way from horrendous crimes and even protect you as long as you are rich, famous, and powerful and willing to back their campaigns. This is what people saw, and it's how they interpreted it. And it drove even more people away from the Democrat Party. So what happens next? Now the Democrats, like a football team, need a rebuilding season. They need to stop listening to people like the Pelosi's, Biden's, Obama's, Schumer's, and Schiff's of the Democratic Party. They need to start fresh with young blood that does not have a woke agenda. Go back to the free speech platform of the Democrat Party, the no wars and world peace platform that they were once so proud of. They need to go back to their roots, and then have a little common sense, and remove the lies and the anxiety and the gaslighting, and give the American people a fresh start. Maybe if they can do that, we can have a viable two-party system in this country again, and we can actually have a healthy debate and stop being so damn divisive. Well, with that said, congratulations, America. You're about to experience more money in your pocket, secure borders, safety within our own country, law and order, common sense governing, peace, and maybe just some damn patriotism if that's okay, and potentially two viable, realigned political parties that you can be proud of. Thanks for tuning in. We will provide you with more updates regarding Trump and his cabinet, policy, and executive order proclamations as we get closer to his inauguration date, which is going to be January 20th, 2025, so stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in and listening. We'll see you next time.
Be sure to hit that follow or subscribe button to continue following us and listening to our podcast. I promise we'll get better and more interesting with each episode. Thank you for listening in with the Central Mind Podcast. My name's Tony DeVito, and we'll see you next time.